And now, here's your host of Shaping Success, Wes Tankersley.
But without this podcast, I would have never met Matt. And Matt is an awesome dude. And it's funny by chance because these things happen in everyday life. You never know who you're going to connect with. You never know what kind of relationship you're going to build based on certain things. You know, one of my very good friends, Jay Finning, we met in a stupid podcasting group that no one was open to. Like, they just wanted to take all the information, and then when they found out that you didn't think the same way they did, and it could be about anything. I don't like chicken noodle soup. You're out. We kicked you out. Like, they just kind of just kicked us one by one out. Well, the funny thing is that when you are around people, you know, the 5 people in your inner circle are your influence, and they react and they act the way that you act. So if you have 5 negative people, you're going to be a negative person. If you have 5 positive people, you're going to be a positive person. Well, a group of 4 of us ended up in a separate chat, in a separate place, and have continued to be friends for a very long time. And I bounce a lot of things off Jay. And Jay and I talk every single day. And we have One Drink Wednesday, and he's been on my podcast a bunch of times. I've been on his. I've been down to visit him in Arizona. He lives in Arizona. I live in Idaho. And those relationships that you build, that you create, that you glean. Well, this is how this Matt Todd relationship came along. I was in his house. I quoted him out window coverings. He didn't buy them from me. I was okay with that because I'm okay with people not buying stuff from me because it's not always for me. Sometimes there's people who want to do stuff on their own because they realize that, well, maybe that's a little bit more than what I thought it would be. That's okay with me. But when I got done, after I gave him my quote, after I left or before I left the house, we sat down at his table and we talked about, hey, I've got a podcast. You got a podcast? Like, we just had this conversation, and he's the type of person who makes me think, and I had him on my podcast. And then he got a studio set up, and I went and sat in his podcast, which I'm ready for my own studio. I can tell you that right now. This rental that we're in is great. I'm grateful that we have a place to stay, but it's tough to record in a space that is not dedicated to podcasting. It's tough to record in a place that, you know, my daughter is doing her homework on the computer that I need to use for my podcast. She comes up here, she moves stuff around. And sometimes we have issues with audio because of that, because like the cord gets shook or moved around or something like that. And it's terrible. You know, that's the thing. And that's why, like, it's sad. Like, we have to punt with that. Like, I've had those 2 episodes I was talking about with the audio, and I don't even know if this is coming in clear right now, but I'll find out, because you basically have to scrap the whole episode because no one wants to listen to crappy, scratchy voice. But anyway, whoever you meet, whoever you interact with, you never know what that relationship is, and it's really, really crucial to treat everyone like you would want to be treated. That's a big thing. And so check out that podcast episode. It's awesome. I don't know. I love, like, when I sat down in that room, I felt like at home. I don't get to be on interviews very often. If you want to interview me, I'm definitely open to do it because I love to do it. Because if you guys don't know, this part is the hard part, right? This is the tough part. Me actually doing my part, because I have to, you know, luckily I have someone who edits it for me, but I have to do all the things and all the steps to get it posted everywhere it needs to be posted and all that stuff. When someone else records an interview, it's all in their hands. And it's super cool to talk a little bit about who I am. And you know who I am. I mean, if you go back and you listen to the dang near 200 episodes of the podcast, you're going to know who I am. And that's what it's about. It's about building a brand, building a person, letting people know who you are, right? Because you want people to trust you. You want them to know who you are. You want them to know who you're coming through. And every single episode that I've had, or any question that I ever ask, is a personal reflection of who I am. Because I think about those things. Because I'm always striving, just like in the Hedonic Treadmill that we talked about, to obtain a joy, adapt, desire more, and then keep going. So wanting to completely move forward all the time and to better yourself. I talked about, you know, I've talked about before, like reading books. In college, I have 2 degrees. For those of you who don't know me, I have a bachelor's in physical education, kinesiology, and then I have a master's degree in education technology. I went to college the first time, right when I graduated high school, and I flunked out of college, 1.7 GPA. I waited 11 years and went back to college to get my bachelor's, and I got a 3.7 with my bachelor's and a 4.9 or 3.9 with my master's. And I'm going to tell you this, and I don't think they can take my degrees away. I already got them. I cracked a book and maybe read one chapter out of all the books that I had. So the thing that really helped me get through college was the life experiences that I had helped me relate to what I'm doing. And I didn't think that reading was necessary, but as I was teaching, I was telling kids, you need to go to college because my parents told me I needed to go to college to be successful. And that's not true. And I don't believe it. And I think about that every single day when I see some of my students on Facebook or on Instagram talking and things like that, how I told them, you got to go to college to be successful. Not true. And it's tough because that's what the education system wants you to know. They're going to take a big reboot. It's coming back. I can tell you right now. You'll see. It's going to be different. But I have read more books in the last 2 years, autobiographies, self-help books, marketing books, life books, things like that, that have meant more to me and educated me more than anything I ever learned inside a building. Of someone preaching at you that you need to know this, 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 and this, when in reality you only need to know about a third of that to be able to do whatever you want to do. Now, don't get me wrong. Doctors, lawyers, there's certain people who have to go to college. That's all there is to it. They have to. Because if they don't, then they're not going to be able to do the things that you do. You don't want someone who hasn't practiced open heart surgery doing open heart surgery on you. Oh, this is how you do it. You don't want someone else showing them how to do that. But there's a lot of things that you can do that someone else can show you and train you, and you can get hands-on training on and be better and be good. So it's not necessary for everyone, I guess is the way that I should put it. And there are a lot of great people who didn't go to college. But I think that one of the things that we covered in that podcast that I was on was that we were told this is what we had to do. My parents are baby boomers. And their parents were whatever, I don't know what the generation was before that. But the generation before that, not a lot of people did go to college. And then they wanted to send their kids to college. So my dad and my mom needed to go to college because their parents told them that they needed to. So they didn't get a chance to go, but they looked at what they were making as far as money goes and things like that. And they were like, I would have made more money if I would have went to college. I would have been more set if I would have went to college. And then it becomes get a job with benefits, do this, do that, blah, 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 blah. And I hadn't had this type of thought process with myself until I became a fully commissioned salesman. I got both my degrees. I finished my master's degree, and that spring, when I finished it, I looked at the principal at my school and I said, I'm done. Not doing this anymore. I am resigning. I'm resigning from teaching, I'm resigning from coaching, and I'm going to go do something different. And it ended up being this job that I have that makes me 100% sales, 100% commission person. So like, it's all on me. I'm not going to work every single day and getting a paycheck based on this is how much you're worth. I'm proving my own worth to myself. And it was tough at first. Like, it was scary at first to be a commission salesman because you don't know where your income's coming. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know where that next sale's coming from. You don't know how much you're going to make. You can walk into a house and it's do or die. You get a yes or you get a no, and then you don't make any money or you do make money. And it makes you put a lot of trust in yourself and a lot of effort into yourself and a lot of making yourself better. And then you start to trust in yourself and you start to know, hey, I'm pretty damn good at this. And I don't have to rely on anyone else to go in that house and sell that stuff for me. It's up to me. And again, that's building a rapport with someone. It's gaining trust from someone, hoping that they understand that you are what you are or who you are. And it's funny because there's 3 salesmen in my company and I'm a pretty good one. And sometimes people will ask me, how do you sell as much as you sell? And I think that it comes from the education standpoint. So although my degrees are not in use, they were necessary and they've helped me. And they've helped me to become a better salesman. They've helped me become a better person. They've helped me become better everything because I use those skills that I learned in writing, in communication, in teaching, in educating people. And so, I'm grateful that I did that. Is it necessary? No. Could I have done it on my own? Probably. But I did get something out of that. So it is important to have that education if you need it. And that's it. So those are kind of the big things that I wanted to cover today.